Hey everyone, it's Michael and
Alex.
And Ruben.
And from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au, covering pretty much the whole of the world this time.
We're
doing
doing
there?
an international stream again.
Yes, good fun with all those delays and no one's sure who's talking and saying what and all sorts of things are we going on this episode.
Sorry, I have to get it out of the way first. Is that a green shirt or?
Mate, we're Christmassy. You're in red, I'm in green. What's the problem?
My screen, I think. Yeah, no, all good.
I did a little test just before just to check everything was working, and I looked at it, I'm like, oh no, Michael, your shirt's green. I didn't send you over with a camera this time.
Yeah, it's one of the black shirts, but there's red light in this room, like a red light and a kind of a yellowy light. And it seems to have set me off.
Where are you staying at, Michael?
I am staying. I'm in the suite in the BN Jet.
Oh wow! Okay.
It's a wonder what they can do with internet on planes nowadays.
Well, first of all, thank you to everyone for the live stream because this is my breather of the week. It's been quite nuts with the increase in spot price with silver going up and up and up. So are the lines. So yeah, appreciate sitting down for a sec.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you bought silver. I mean, you sold silver earlier on in the week, did you, mate?
Look, I'm sorry, that's for my OnlyFans to know, paid fans.
Oh, jeez.
Metal Inquisitor wondering if you got permission for this stream. You did say previously that you were going to make this very specifically a non-work trip. Is this the one exception?
No, this is my usual non-work trips where I pack at least 2 or 3 BN shirts and the family knows that I'll be working.
If the other half is not listening, how many meetings have you got booked in?
Yeah, no comment on that one. Yeah. She's fast asleep at the moment. It is, what is the time here? It's 2:30 in the morning. So
you'll be getting up soon.
This is kind of a normal-ish time for me to be up and around and kicking. Possibly a little bit earlier than normal, but not much.
All right. So what's been happening in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, just lots of travel at the moment. So we did the hop from Melbourne across to Doha and spent a few hours in Doha and then Doha through to Munich and then up into what I was actually kidding before in case no one picked up on it. I'm not on any of the planes at the moment. We finished that. We arrived not that long ago on bus up into one of the hopeful snowfields. And if we can't go snowboarding, then there's plenty of other things we can do while we're up here. So we're up the back of Austria at the moment. Beautiful
as always, I imagine.
It's amazing. Like the scenery. I love Europe, particularly this end of Europe. It's, you drive around Australia and, you go up a quote-unquote mountain in Australia and quite often it's like 200 or 300 feet at most. You come into Europe and, just you're driving along a flat area, but on either side of you is mountains that just rear up thousands and thousands of feet. And it's, they're snow-capped and it's just incredibly picturesque. The villages are that stereotypical and very appropriate for an English Australian, I suppose you'd call me. Very reminiscent of, those Christmas cards where you see the little European village in the foothills of, the Alps behind it and that sort of stuff. And that's exactly what I'm seeing over here on the drive up. So, yeah, it's incredibly beautiful.
What town are you in? Is that are you in near the city?
No.
Okay.
No, we're actually in Merehoven, up in the snowfields. So it's really good.
Alrighty, I've called this stream $100 silver because for an ounce now, even our buybacks, we are now crossing over $100 Australian an ounce. And I saw James Howard talking before about VAT added on top of that for him as well over in the UK. It makes it even worse. But I guess the question I'll pitch is the last time we'll see it below 100, or is now we've crossed that mark? Are we never going to see it again?
I think we'll drop below 100 again in the short term. I think this is a bit of an enthusiasm spike due to the announcements out of the US, particularly this week, where they've all but confirmed that they're going to have another interest rate cut. And it's coincided with the Australian Reserve Bank all but confirming that we will not have another interest rate cut. So that's had two effects. One is interest rates coming down is seen as favourable to the price of gold and silver in the world market. So that's driven the price up. And that Australian dollar, because they've announced we won't get any more interest rate cuts, that's driven the Australian dollar up slightly more. So it's had that double-barreled effect on our prices. So I think I expect tonight, but look, this is all, tea leaves and crystal balls. I think tonight we'll see an easing in the prices. There'll be a chunk of profit taking on the world market. People will secure some profits in the current volatility. But I think as we end the year, I can quite easily see us never seeing, in Australian dollar terms, never seeing double-digit spot price for silver again. It'll all be triple-digit moving forward into the new year, and possibly even all the way through 2026.
Well, it's bittersweet, as I've said and had a few conversations with quite a number of customers over the last week. You're happy that silver's going up and it's doing what we're all expected it to do, but you're also upset that it's going up and it's making you be able to buy less of how much you want to buy, because we're obviously buying for the future. So it's a bit of a bittersweet moment.
Yeah, look, I think Nuganix is correct there as well. It's not just the federal interest rate cut that they're focusing on. The Fed we're not going into austerity yet, but they're certainly indicating a strengthening of balance sheets, let's put it that way, or an expansion of balance sheets is probably a better way to put it. So there is definitely that positive mood in the States in that sense, and around the world to a large degree.
The more this happens as well, we already started to see a shift in store away a little bit from kilo bars and into that kind of 5 and 10 ounce space, just as the kilos kind of, being above $3,000 now, it just kind of makes it, that little bit harder to just pick up one, every now and then. And so it'll be interesting to see, as potentially 3-digit silver becomes the norm, what is required out of places like the Perth Mint or some of the local guys to fill the demand, because there isn't a whole lot in that middle ground space at the moment. I think Perth need to catch up, to be honest, on some of that. I know we've spoken about how they might be bringing some of those smaller sizes back in at some stage, but someone was talking about, can we get some more, I think 5 ounces up on the side or something like that. And
look, we are going to see more of that. We'll see Perth Mint bring out. I don't have a direct line into Perth. Okay, let's be honest here. I'm not speaking on their behalf, but again, reading the tea leaves, we will see Perth bring forward that decision on the 10-ounce bar, and I suspect it'll be launched I suspect in January or February, but certainly within the first quarter. And the earlier, the sooner, I think, if that made any sense. But I think we're also going to see a return of the 20-ounce bar, not from Perth. I think that's well and truly dusted, but I think we'll probably start seeing the 20-ounce bar making a return with some of the other refineries around the world.
The other thing it's led to a lot of in-store, and Desi just mentioned it there, it's brought up a lot of people mentioning what they bought it at. So Desi just said there, had a look for my invoice from mid-2023, kilo of silver, a PAMP specifically, around 1,100. That was a $10 above spot special. But, we've seen a lot of that mentioned in store of, I bought it when it was this much. I bought it when it was this much. And particularly because there's a lot of new people through the store as well. You can now kind of see people separate into two groups. There's the before price rise buyers, and the people buying now.
Yeah.
Look, I lived through this once before. Well, no, I've lived through this several times before, where I remember last time we broke through $50 an ounce back in 20. What was that, in the teens? I think, wasn't it? Possibly early 20s, but no, it would have been in the teens. We saw it break through 50. Several of us got toppy on that and unloaded quite a lot. And then we did see it a month or so later. It copped a hammering and dropped down. And I remember it coming back into the teens in US dollars per ounce, and people calling then that it would never exceed that $50 Australian at that point. It would never exceed that $50 Australian ever again. And, it led to all this doomsday stuff, and like silver won't go through $20 US an ounce ever again, and all this sort of stuff. And I guess I bring us back to that more as an encouragement for people that are looking at the price now going, have I missed the boat? Yeah, look, there is an argument that maybe you've missed the boat in the short term, but I can guarantee you, as I did back then, and if you go back hunting through some of the old chat sites and things, you'll see me pop up in various guises saying, you're right, it's copped a hammering, and it probably will stay down for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but it will push through again, and we'll be looking at $50 and even $100 silver in a few years' time, and we're here again. So will it push higher? Probably. I expect it to in the short to medium term. Will it come back a bit? Look, it may do, but even if it does, it doesn't stress me. Even if it dropped back to $50, $60, $70 Australian again, and held there for 2 or 3 years, it's not unusual behaviour in asset and in hard asset investing.
Is there a point, because obviously a lot of the discussion in store is that this is part of the fiat cycle, and it's getting harder and harder to control, and eventually we may need to reset the fiat currency in some description. Exactly what that might look at, we're not sure. But is there a certain price point where you think it's too, the snowballing has begun, where we're off to the races? Or do you, like you said, is this just part of the normal up and down, and you think it'll be able to come back from here without any worry?
Look, I'm going to upset a few people now and say I think it's part of the natural cycle of fixed assets, or hard assets, I should say. So by that I'm meaning, precious metals, real estate, even businesses and cryptocurrencies to a degree. Although I kind of wish I'd left cryptocurrency out of that one, because that's a separate topic all its own. You see these expansions and contractions over time, and it's part of the normal cycle. I'm a bit of a fatalist, I suppose, in some ways. I see it as the same, sort of normal cycle that we see in weather patterns and population growths and things like that. I think that both silver and gold, if we're particularly talking about those two, and platinum to a large degree, have been artificially suppressed for several years. I'm not going down the, is it being suppressed intentionally or not, but whatever way, and assets do this, they get artificially suppressed for a variety of reasons. They become unpopular in another language, and we've seen that with various shares. We've seen that with real estate. It became unpopular for several years after the last boom. Once it turns that cycle and starts to becoming popular again, it quite often overruns out the other side equally as much as it's overrun the underside, if you like. And I think a lot of the sudden expansion we're seeing is not so much has it boomed, it's a recognition of has it been suppressed and is it recovering? And I think that's what we're seeing. Silver and gold should have been dearer years ago, and I think the whole industry and most of the world recognises that. The point now is, how far do we push? Where have we returned back to the cyclical normal? Where have we pushed into normal growth? And where have we started to blow off the top and maybe got too enthusiastic about it? Because it will come to that point. Every natural cycle, whether you're looking at the clock, the investment clock, and some people know what I mean by that, whether you're just looking at times or being fatalistic, like I mentioned earlier, we always enter into this boom period, this enthusiasm period, whether it's a normal cycle, a super cycle, any of those things, and it's predicting where that is or assessing where that is. I don't think we're there yet. I'm not trying to say that, but it's certainly a conversation that needs to be had. And I think we will go through that, and I think we will ease back and equally come out the other side where, again, we're starting to say these prices are too cheap. Surely it's got to turn around somewhere here soon.
We got a question about the store. I'd be interested to hear both your takes on it. It says, can you guys please consider a 2-line queue for the store? It's really frustrating waiting 2 hours listening to indecisive customers when most of us are buying or selling one or two things.
Yeah. What I briefly touched upon with Michael previously is we're looking at doing like a pickup line as well. So we'll all be serving and then hopefully ask just for people to pick up. We've already been doing that to an extent, especially when we've got enough staff members on a day. But that would be just a pick up and go only. The problem with what you're suggesting is we'll have 2 lines, but then how does that go from 2 lines to then having to have a third one, because now 2 lines are being undecisive and changing orders. So it's just, I get your frustration, but it's just a little bit difficult in practice, I think.
Yeah, we get a lot of the, just here for a pickup. While I'm here, let me also go. And so what starts as just a simple pickup does end up spiraling. But yeah, one of the guys often, again, if we've got spare capacity, will often float around and go, is anyone here just for a pickup? And try and expedite it a little. But yeah, it's often just those little quick ones that end up spiraling a little bit sometimes.
Unless, of course, you get served by Alex and then Alex is like, look, are you picking up only? I'm happy to help, because if what you got to get as well is if we get someone in to pick up only, everyone else hears it, they know it's a quick pickup. But then if you start going, oh look, I'll have a little bit of this, I'll have one of those, then you have to process the payment, and the payment doesn't go through, then everyone will get really angry.
They start listening to the conversation next to them, or they see the buyback that comes in and goes, well, while I'm here, can I get that one? Or, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, that's right, I've got to pick up. Or their phone will go off and it'll be, Aunt Mavis saying, I hear you're in a BN today, can you pick me up? And every time we do this, it bites us on the backside. I got caught out late last week, it was, where somebody was just in, like, I've got parking at the front, my wife's out there, I've got it, it's honestly 3 seconds, and I reckon it took me 25 minutes to clear them out of the queue by the time, while I'm here, can I, but I just need, the card won't, I've got to transfer funds, try the other card, no, that didn't work, I'll do a direct deposit, mate.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah, I offer to assist with a delivery of a baby if that happens, but I'm not letting people jump the queue. Yeah.
That's right.
Have the silver 1 ounce horse coins, the rectangular ones, the lunar horse bars, coins, that debacle, have they arrived in stock, or are they still on pre-order?
I think you're pushing it, calling it debacle, but yes, they've arrived in stock.
It's a debacle. They swapped it out mid-series, Michael.
Yes.
So what was it before, Rubes? It was a bar, yeah?
It was a bar, and now it's a coin.
What kind of a coin?
A rectangular coin.
A stable coin.
Get out of here.
I just thought of that yesterday. It's a stable coin.
Good on you.
One for you, Michael. I don't know much about this, so I'm just going to read it as it is. Will Australia's South 32 silver mine increasing production by 10% have any impact for Australia and or the world? I wouldn't have thought so. That's my initial gut reaction.
The reason we're seeing a large uptick in price is because demand has massively increased. Supply is not going to catch up at this stage.
Yeah.
You could double the production of a lot of mines around the world, never mind Australia. And honestly, I don't think it would impact the price a lot. Sure, initially you might see a cooling a little bit, or even just a flattening of the curve. But, that brings back memories. Remember when we all stayed home to flatten the curve for 14 days?
Don't bring back some memories.
Don't bring it up, please. Not now.
You may see a slight easing on that, but at this stage, the demand is increasing because the supply on all the precious metals, if I'm completely honest, the supply has not followed and can't follow. I'm not trying to make a political statement here. I'm making an observation. We, as a Western world, are moving into a period where everything is that much more difficult. To get approval to put in a new mine is almost impossible these days. To get approval to expand a current mine is almost impossible these days. To trade with other countries is becoming more and more difficult. Even as a tourist, it's becoming more difficult. I've noticed the extra processes I now have to go through to like even on this trip to Europe, the processes to get euros and to transfer currencies and things like that. And it's before I talk about the difficulties of it on a commercial level. Everything is one stage more difficult. Everyone needs that extra tick in the box. Things need to go through an extra process, and it slows everything down and makes it more difficult. So even though demand is increasing, and it massively is, the supply, while we keep tying ourselves up in knots, the supply will not catch up. It's until someone comes in, and even Trump's finding himself tied up in knots these days. Unfortunately, he kind of, whether you love him or hate him, he arrived with a bang, and one of his main goals was to cut some of this red tape, and he succeeded to some length at the start, and now he's grinding a little bit, like grinding away, still trying to get it done, but nowhere near as efficiently or as spectacularly maybe as he was able to do maybe in the first 90 days. And we need more of that. More of whether we need more Trumps or not is open to a debate, but we certainly need that attitude of let's actually properly clear the decks and make way for this for the future. And we're just not doing it as a world.
We kind of touched on the similarities between it being the $50 mark just before. At what price ratio do you start swapping silver for gold? Not financial advice.
That's a good non-financial question. Advisory question.
Personally, I start looking at it when it falls below 80 to 1, and I start doing it when it falls below 60 to 1.
Are we going to be getting any more of the Harrington silver bars?
We're talking the PAMP produced ones.
No, that's the Englehards.
Oh, it's the Englehards, the Harringtons. I wouldn't have thought so. The consistency on them is not as regular as we need.
Yep. Just got back from Bullion Now in Pakenham. Nice facility. Only thing you need is a doorbell at the gate.
Yes, that gate is causing a little bit of frustration as to what we do with that.
I also just want to touch on someone else asked about the address of Pakenham. Now, because it's not open to public as of yet, we're not advertising, but you can, if you want to make an appointment, you would call up and then they will give you the address on that call.
As much as I like seeing the values go up, my brain is struggling to accept that I can't buy multiple ounces of silver for $100 like I've been doing for the last 15 years. It's definitely a bit of a mental shift to go, yeah, pretty much each $100 note or $250, is 1 ounce of silver.
Yeah. You're not you're not the only one in that boat. We're all struggling with that.
Can we run a poll, Rubes?
We sure can.
So it's something I've been playing with in the back of my mind recently because the Harrington bar tripped the thought process off again. So what I want to know is if people think we should be reviving these old brands, or if we should leave the old brands as the old brands and cherish that heritage and not try and drum it up for financial sakes.
What are my options? Yes, no, and something else?
No, just yes or no. Which should we be doing, I suppose, or maybe yes, no, and don't care. It seems to be the trend. As I mentioned earlier, Perth's done it with, not Perth, sorry, my apologies. PAMP's done it. There's several other people that have dragged out these heritage brands and are trying to kind of play off that heritage, but really they're just producing cookie cutter, non-limited production I would even argue, not honouring the original brand piece. They're just churning out more bars and kind of hoping that people go, oh wow, Harrington, or wow, Engelhart. Should we be doing that? Is that just another source of metal, and we should be pleased for it? Because I can let you in on the secret. It's not actually another source of metal. It's just one of the somebody has registered the brand, whether it be in the example I gave before, PAMP, or whether it be someone else, and they've just changed out the die and they're using that stamp on there. Should we be doing that? Is it good, or should we be just saying actually these are historic brands? They're something to be proud of, kind of like the old vintage cars and things like that. And we shouldn't be tampering with the history of it. I guess I can, because I don't usually vote in these things. My opinion with these is more along the lines of, when I get a classic car, when I look at these types of things, I like it to be original. I don't like these new takes on the old things. I understand people that do like a brand new engine under an old looking car, so they can have the nostalgia but still have the reliability. But I think in these cases it's actually demeaning and takes away from that original brand and the history that we've got through the precious metals industry, particularly here in Australia. So I'm not a fan of it, but I'm just wondering if I'm being the old fuddy-duddy in the corner, and actually times have moved on and we should be producing these things.
Well, the no's are outweighing. We've got 43% no, 28% yes, and 30% don't care.
I personally voted no, but I can see people wanting either way. I don't have a problem with it as much. But I went through this with being a big collector of old video games, like retro games. And I remember when Atari was brought out and everyone was so excited about, Atari coming back. And what they did was just plaster their name onto everything and just sold it through as marketing. And it sort of ruined that nostalgia and the really cool vintage pieces. So it's left a sour taste in my mouth personally. So for that reason, I voted no, but I can see why some people would enjoy seeing it. I'm always more of a collector being a collector of more of the authentic piece. So I want everything in its original as possible piece. I'd rather have like a real, say, silver coin than being given a gold-plated silver coin to pretend it's gold. So I just like the raw thing, the original thing. But again, that's a personal choice, I guess.
Yeah, look, I think if it was done more respectfully, Kenworth released, I know I've gone right off track here. Kenworth released I don't even know what they called it. I'm not really a truck person, but I was on the fringe of this with a manufacturer I was talking about it with, where they produced a retro truck. And it was done kind of to celebrate that classic 80s Kenworth truck that kind of ruled the highway at that point and was, the cool truck from back in the 80s. And they produced a limited number and a limited run kind of to celebrate it. And I think that was done fairly tastefully. Yes, it was new running gear, but it was still the old truck. It had the old dashboard on it. It had quite a bit of new gear in it, but it was done tastefully and selectively. It wasn't just, right, we're going to mass produce this rubbish out onto the market and stick a stamp on it and call it a tribute or a tip of the hat to a previous generation. And I kind of feel that's what we're doing as an industry with these brands. We're not respecting them or tipping the hat to them. We're actually just trying to mass market something else and trying to put a slight difference to it to get an edge. I find it disrespectful. Perth Mint got hammered a number of years ago, back in 2011, 2012, when they decided to reproduce the kookaburras from the 90s because they hadn't produced the whole of the maximum mintage. And they copped a pure shellacking over it. And I think justifiably, I think it was right. And even now we're seeing, well, at that point, the market dumped everything Perth Mint and said we're not going near it ever again, which I think was a massive overreaction. But now we're seeing those original ones, particularly the originals in their square capsules, command a higher premium because they're recognised as the originals.
Keeping on moving down my list. Any updates on the Coke bars? The 10 ounces.
No comment until we've hit the mid-month, which is when we said we would comment on them.
Interesting comment from T-Bone, and I know we've kind of already touched on this, but I wanted to get your opinion just to this statement. For those starting now, you have missed the boat. In reference to stacking and the price where it's at.
Yeah. I can't. I've been involved in the investment industry pretty much all my life. Whoops, sorry, just kicked the stand. And I've been hearing this statement for in excess of 40 years. I've heard it about property. I've heard it about precious metals. I've heard it about business. I've heard it about pretty much every single form of investment that is out there. And invariably, time heals everything. That's... You can go back over the last 160 years of property investment in Australia, and I would quite happily have bought property at any one of those peaks the whole way through the last 160 years of records of property investment in Australia. And I'd be better off. My kids would be better off. My grandkids would be better off through the generations. I can also do the same thing with gold and with silver and with platinum and all these types of things where, although platinum still hasn't reached its all-time high again yet, but it will. All these things have their time in the sun. All these things drop down in price. If you're buying it today to sell tomorrow, absolutely, you may have missed the boat. It might drop $20 tonight. It might halve in price overnight. Absolutely, it might. But in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, will you have still considered yourself missing the boat? Not if you've bought wisely. Not if you've gone and bought a good buy in a good product with a good brand, with a reputable place. You won't regret it when time, from my experience, this is not financial advice, you won't regret it further on down the track. And I've had that experience with property. I've had that experience with precious metals. I've had that experience with business. I've had that experience with pretty much everything I've invested into. To give you a really oddball example, and I'm wondering if we're going to see it again this year, particularly in Gippsland where I live. Several years ago, no, you couldn't give the flaming stuff away. Everyone was drowning in it. So we brought many thousands of bales of hay, and we stored them because we knew come winter, the price was going to go through the roof because no one would have it all over again. And sure enough, it happened quicker than I expected, but sure enough, and we can go into farming reasons if you like, everyone thought, we're going to have all this grass forever, so they overstocked their properties again, and sure enough, winter came round and the grass stopped growing, and all of a sudden hay went from what we were paying, which was about $2 a bale, was up around $15, $16 a bale because no one had it. And I see this trend across the board so often. It wasn't that long ago where, gold had copped a hammering and Bitcoin was going to be the new gold and no one was ever going to buy gold again and you're mad if you do and all this sort of stuff. And here we are with gold going through $4,000 an ounce US and $6,500 Australian. We heard it with silver, it's never going to be used again. The new technologies have come in and no one's going to ever want silver again and we're oversupplied and you're mad if you buy it. And here we are talking about, silver going through $100 an ounce Australian. It could halve overnight. It could easily double overnight. If you buy sensibly, if you buy carefully, if you deal with reputable people and you buy reputable brands, you're going to do okay over time. Just don't go for that short term, buy today, sell tomorrow. Recognize you're investing for the long term. Yes, no one likes it when it goes down the day after they've bought it. I don't know how many times I've done that. And Alex is renowned for buying things and the price going down the next day. Oh. We've all done it. But Alex, when you bought we were giving you a hard time. What was that? A month ago, 6 weeks ago, we were giving you a hard time for it.
1
Are you
month ago,
glad?
and then 6 weeks ago as well.
Right. And are you glad today that you did it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Plus, both of them were little pieces of bullion history. So not only am I happy I've got that in bullion value, in that monetary value, but I'm also very happy to have some pieces that I saved from, say, the melting pot.
Stephen says, "Hey Now" is a catchy brand now that I think of it.
Yeah, but yeah, still to answer your point, basically, yeah, very happy I still bought it, and I can honestly say I have never regretted buying any bullion ever in my life.
People are like, I'm seeing it in the chat here, but I'm also seeing it in the media and things like that. They start wheeling out the old Hunt brothers. I don't want to beat this drum to death, okay? So we've got to be careful here. There is a difference between history repeats itself and it's different this time. The Hunt brothers was a completely different scenario. You watched Silver Plummet tonight, but the Hunt brothers were a completely different scenario. So they tried to corner the silver market. They were buying up silver futures and all sorts of things at the time to try and corner the market and artificially drive it up. This time round is different currently. This is not anyone cornering the market. This is recognizing the fact that fill in whatever expression you like at this point, oh dear, we don't have enough silver to actually fill the demand that we have. The industry, because you've got to remember, at least 2/3 of the silver price is driven by industrial demand. It's not actually driven by the froth and bubble of you and I buying or selling. It's industry actually getting in and saying, I need a ton of this. I need 20 ton of this. I need 100 ton of this because I need it to produce the technology. I need it to produce the product that I'm producing, whether it be connectors for the trams that are running out the front of 227, through to medicines, through to missiles, through to new technologies, solar panels, all these types of things. This is actually industrial demand driving the price. This is not the froth and bubble of you and I, as I said a moment ago. So to compare it to the Hunt brothers, while certainly you need to keep that in the back of your mind because it will happen again, that's not where we are at the moment. This is an industry-driven demand currently and a lack of supply-driven demand or price rise. So be very careful where you're mixing your history. And as humans, we're very apt to do that to try and argue our particular case. Make sure that you're analysing it correctly and comparing apples to apples because history will repeat. And if it doesn't repeat, it certainly echoes. So be very aware of that, but be aware of what you're comparing it to. And the Hunt brothers, in my personal opinion, or that period of time when the Hunt brothers are around, is not a reasonable comparison, even slightly. It'd be like comparing a race car to a normal car and saying, well, why aren't I getting the same performance, or why isn't it behaving this way or that way? It's because that's under one set of circumstances. They're both cars, but that's under one set of circumstances, and this is under a completely different set of circumstances. So be careful about mixing those two scenarios.
We've got someone here who's wanting help with an individual order. I've taken note of that number, and I'll take a look at it after the stream.
Sorry, just jump in. I love Drog's comment there. China are the Hunt brothers currently.
Well, we may go back in history and say that's right. I don't believe so at this point.
Yeah. No, but just with the massive amounts of silver being bought up.
But it's not just. I don't want to downplay. Yeah, I don't want to downplay what China's doing because they absolutely are doing it. Okay, that's certainly a part of the market, but there is also. It's not just China, and it's not just being bought to store it just in case. They are absolutely doing that. I don't want to say they're not, or I don't want people to think I'm saying that they're not, because they are. They're actually trying to get ahead of the supply chain a little bit. But a lot of that is because that supply chain is decreasing and a lot of that demand-driven is increasing. And it's increasing on an industrial level, not just a stacking level. And that's the difference this time.
When are the 1 kilo silver kookaburras arriving?
There was a stack that arrived just before I left. I don't know where we're at and if we're just filling pre-orders. You'd have to ask Adsy that.
Speaking of Adsy, I have to just do a big commendation for him. He really came through this week. And he got me a coffee while I was in stream. So thanks, Ads. I couldn't get out all day.
Yeah.
He snuck in and out, so thank you.
Can a Little Coin Shop please get an agency for Germania Mint? The numismatic releases just get better and better. I value the honesty and integrity of being a Little Coin Shop, and I'm loath to shop anywhere elsewhere.
Talk to us next year. They will be taking on a lot more of the Germania numismatic products. They've been taking some. It's not quite as easy as flicking a switch to bring a new supplier online. You have to fit them into your current capacity, or expand your capacity, and Little Coin Shop's bursting at the seams, much like BN is at the moment. So to take on everything that they're bringing in is a fairly large commitment that they're manoeuvring themselves currently for as we speak.
I think I did notice a careers section open on the Little Coin Shop website.
Yeah.
There was also a lot of suggestions and justifiable criticism for the current queuing system in the shop. Talking about, different suggestions for, maybe a selling only line, or needing to sort out the numbers and how they work first, and appointments. There was quite a few comments about that, so I don't want to blast, just ignore all those. I'm not sure if we've got anything lined up specifically, but I know it is fairly high up the top of the list for fixing next year.
It is. So we're currently trialing in the background. We haven't come live with it at all. But we're trying a system where you can scan a barcode coming in, or a QR code, sorry, not a barcode. And then on your phone, say, I'm here just for a pickup, or I'm here to buy, or I've got an appointment. And that way the system can automatically slot you in to where we need to have you. The biggest challenge we've got with that is a decent amount of our customer base, and it's not just the older ones, don't like mobile phones and QR codes. So I'm currently trying to work out if we run two systems, the QR code system for everyone else and the current numbered system for people who don't want to participate in that, or not. I don't know which way to go. It's kind of like you end up with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different systems if you're not careful. So that's the current one under consideration, and that way we can. It's a bit like I was in Vic Roads a little while ago with my son getting his license, and you walk up to the Dalek there and you push the button and say, what am I in for, and then it prioritises the order depending on what you're in for, sort of thing. It's kind of along those sort of lines.
I think it'll be good as long as you've got an option not to have to do it.
Yeah.
People that
just as long as it doesn't cause confusion.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because Vic Roads isn't known for long and complicated and annoying lines.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a hard
one. Michael, what gold did you take with you in your pocket, and what percentage of spot did you get? Have you done any gold traveling to
I did my standards. Did my standard stuff. I brought a little bit across to convert into euros, so I don't have to pay, transfer fees and all the rest of the guff. And in fact, I made a slight profit on it because the price of gold kicked up as I was on the plane.
Are you able to indicate what your standard is?
What my standard is?
Yeah, they just say what gold did you take with you?
Oh, I bring a Perth Mint bar every time. Whether that be cast or minted, it doesn't matter. But we never released it to camera, and I don't know if we ever will, but we did one many years ago where I brought over a Perth Mint bar and I brought over a locally produced bar and compared the ease of transfer. Now, they're still both gold.
We've got to redo that. I mean, that was before I joined, and
it was.
The price, even if you're just looking at the prices, the numbers will be laughable now. It'll be sub $2,000 gold.
Oh, it absolutely was. I think it was about $1,600 when I did it. I brought a Perth Mint bar, I brought a locally produced bar. The Perth Mint bar, it was, that's Perth Mint, no worries, here's your euros, see you later. The local bar I dropped on the counter, The guy kind of looked at me, he looked at the bar, he looked at me, he looked at the bar, looked at me and went, "What's that?" I went, "Oh, it's a local Australian product." And he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he looked at it, he looked at me, and he sighed, and he took it off me. He said, "Come back in 24 hours," because they don't carry XRFs like we do and those sorts of things. And so, sure enough, 24 hours later, I got my money and all that sort of stuff. It was not a big deal. It was just that extra step harder than if I just walked in with a Perth. And I've walked in with Perth bars. I've walked in with Perth coins. It doesn't matter. In fact, they get a little bit excited when you walk in with a Perth Mint coin, particularly a Kangaroo or a Luna, because they are incredibly popular both through Asia and through Europe. Not so the States don't tend to care so much, but Europe and Asia particularly, they get quite excited when you walk in with a Perth Mint coin. I've yet to receive less than spot when I've carried Perth Mint bars and coins. And sometimes with coins, doesn't happen often, but sometimes, particularly in Germany, you'll get a little bit more than spot for it if you've got a Perth Mint coin. Wow. So, yeah, I'm heralding Perth Mint here, because I'm Australian, so it's very usually, you could call me a liar over the last 3 months, it's usually very obtainable, easily obtainable, whereas some of the other brands like your Pamps and that aren't quite as obtainable in Australia, usually. But one experience I did have, and I'm not belittling Pamp here at all, because I think the world of their brand. I think it's a fantastic brand and everything that comes along with it. But one year when I was in Germany, in Berlin, and I fronted up and said, I've got a bar here. And they said, "Oh, it's not a Pamp, is it?" I said, "No, it's a Perth Mint." I said, "Oh, good." And I said, "Oh, why is that?" And they said, "Oh, we've had a run of Pamp fakes come through, so we're not accepting them now," which was quite a bit of a shock for me standing in a German bullion dealer. But yeah, there you go. But sure enough, next time I was back, they were accepting Pamps again. So it must have just been while that flush of fakes went through, they decided not to take Pamps at that point. But yeah, it was an interesting observation.
Michael, you said in Europe and Asia, the Kangaroos are pretty popular, the gold coins. I know from talking to quite a few customers that were going to Asia, that's the case as well. What about in the States? You said not as much. Is there something that goes
in the States? They're treated like, don't get me wrong, gold is gold. It will be. I've never had a country yet turn me down with gold, and I've been in some dodgy countries around the world. In fact, my common saying is, the dodgier the country you're in, the more sure you can be that they'll accept your gold, because everyone knows what gold is and everyone knows that it's got a value. So I've never had an issue with it. But in the States, because the States have quite a good selection of coins over there, Perth Mint has a very good presence in the States. If anything, I would, as the token Australian in the room, quite frequently I get frustrated at how well Perth Mint does treat the US. But the supply over there is fairly easy to get hold of. So it's quite a saturated market. Everyone goes in there. So they're seen as another overseas coin. Whereas through Europe and Asia, as I said, they're seen as, wow, these are that little bit harder to get over here. They're that little bit more desirable over here than some of the other things. We'll definitely take those on board.
It'll be interesting to see. I know the thing you're talking about there was about 6 years ago. Obviously, the intrinsic tender brand itself has grown quite a bit. It expanded into a few different sizes and metals. I'll be interested to know if there's ever a recognition overseas of the fact that it has, cemented itself a little bit more. It isn't just a brand that was far more localized. It has kind of disseminated across the world a little bit more now, both with our videos and also customers buying it and getting it sent all over the world.
I did see it at the World Fair of Money, whatever the American one's called.
Yep.
In Oklahoma this year. I actually did see some intrinsic tender bars there.
There you go.
There was one question earlier. Do we buy back 10 kilo silver coins? I believe it was a Tiger coin. And do we space spot or above spot, or what do we pay for?
Our standard answer is anything over 100 ounces, so 3 and a bit kilos in size, we reserve the right to not pay spot. So if you walked in with a 10 kilo coin, we're not guaranteeing we'll pay spot for it. I can tell you the previous times where people have sold 10 kilo coins back to us, and it doesn't happen very often, we have paid a minimum of spot for them.
Great. So hopefully that answers that question.
Have we got any updates out of Hobart Mint? The East Wester says, just put my first Hobart Mint product through Matt. Can you encourage them to produce more bullion products, and have you sat down with them yet?
I have not sat down with them yet. I've been frantically trying to get a day where I can actually leave Melbourne and disappear down there to spend some time with them. They're certainly open to it. We're certainly open to it. But as you can tell from half the chat, we're currently not keeping up with what we've got. And the only reason I'm currently stepped away from the office is I was forced to by family. Otherwise, I'd still be back there. So we don't have chance at this stage to go down there, as important as it is. And I'm trying to actually get down there early in the new year. But I did say that I would be down there. I think it was either September or October. And I still haven't made it yet. So hopefully in the new year.
Where should I sell 925 silver coins from the 30s and 40s? So I'm guessing the pre-decimal currency. Where should they sell that back? Because we do buy it back, but it isn't at spot price.
You want to take that one, Alex?
Yeah, I actually answered that one in chat.
Oh,
so
sorry.
I said we do buy the old silver coins back, and we buy them at 90% of spot. They're the impure ones. So that'll be your, what do you call it? That would be your pre-decimals, your 80-cent pieces from 50-cent pieces from 1966 and so forth. But yeah, if you want to get collector price, I'm not sure where you could actually go because there's so much of it I've seen come through. Yeah, it's a bit hard to recommend because I know we've seen people to some places and they're like, look, they're actually offering a little bit less. So everyone that's got a whole bunch thinks there's some super rarities in there, but generally that is not the case. So if you're just happy to get 90% off spot for it, we pay spot for pure, but the impure stuff like sterling and so forth, or 50% silver content, we'll pay 90% off spot for.
Yeah, look, it's really hard with those ones because, as Alex said, people think there might be a rare one in the middle, but when you're sorting through kilos and kilos and kilos of these suckers, finding the rare one in the middle is incredibly rare. It costs a heck of a lot to do it, and unless that rare one is in fairly good condition, it's probably only worth a few bucks more than spot anyway. So it's kind of it's not worth it for us. And like, I'm not just saying us, that goes across the whole industry, whether you're dealing with coin dealers or whether you're dealing with bullion dealers. We can't get them melted. They're Australian legal tender. So you've got to accept the fact that we're going to hold on to them. We're going to have to process them. And it costs us to process them, particularly Australian legal tender pre-decimal stuff. They can be 50%, they can be 92.5%. And while no one seems to care when they get the occasional 92.5% in their kilo or 100 grams or whatever they've bought of pre-decimal, they fall off their perch when they receive a 50% in their 5 kilos of 92.5 percent decimal. So we have to, pre-decimal. So we have to actually sort through each one, going through, making sure they're the correct one. So that obviously takes staff time, which is why you see that penalty built into, selling back of those things. Look, if there is a rare one in there, if you suspect that, then by all means go through them and pull it out yourself. That's the only way you're going to actually make any form of money out of it in that sense. Otherwise, just accept the fact that you may or may not have given up a rare one. They're called rare because they are rare. The chances of it are microscopically slim. In all the years that I've been seeing pre-decimal go through, I think I've only ever seen it once where one's come out and it was worth about, while the threepence was probably worth a couple of bucks in spot price, the coin itself was worth about 25, 30 bucks. So, it doesn't happen very often.
I've got one here without a whole lot of context, but I still wanted to hit it. They said, "Hey mate, I'm coming to Melbourne on Monday. Am I good to come pick up my vaulted items?" I'm going to say yes with an asterisk. If you're within Victoria, we should have them here. But if you're interstate, it may actually be being stored down at Pakenham. So definitely good to give us a heads up. It may be too late now. We'll see. But yeah, if you're coming from interstate, just keep in mind it may actually be down at our Pakenham store.
Just further on from that pre-decimal conversation, Raymond's made comment that they're 925 New Guinea shillings and an Aussie 37 crown. The 37 crown, it depends on its condition. I would start off at a coin store and see if you can actually squeeze a little bit more for them, because the crowns are pursued, particularly in better condition. There is certainly a market out there, particularly for the 38s, but even the 37s in a better condition. So I would actually run that one past a coin shop first. The New Guinea shillings, I don't know a heck of a lot about them. It's not one that is pursued on a bulk level. People will buy one here and one there. But if you've got any number of them, take them to a coin shop, see what they'll offer you. But I'd be a little shocked if you get much more than, a percentage of spot for them.
Just to the person there with the 10 kilos, I've said I'll look into your order after the stream's finished, and we'll get that one sorted for you. So no need to feel sad. We'll get it organised. Michael, did you remember to take a Bullion Now bag with you?
I did.
Did you remember? Are you going to remember to take photos? So that's the question.
Well, that's a different question. We'll see what happens on that one.
The buyback 1 ounce gold coins you have listed, what types do you commonly get?
Which ones?
1 ounce gold.
Oh, gold. Wow.
It's the gold, was it? That's why it's silver. I was going to let Alex take that one.
Yeah, look. So many cool pieces come through.
It's all sort.
Look, we do see a lot of kangaroos if we're talking coins, but we can get anything and everything. The lunar stuff, sometimes Chinese myths and legends. We get a lot of the like maples. There was
a tombstone one in there today.
It's just it really anything and everything. And this is the thing I love the most about buybacks. You never know what you're going to get. With every person walking in, they might sell something back. It's always like being a kid at Christmas time and seeing, everyone opening their presents and just loving that show and tell. So you just never know what you're going to get, and we see quite a range.
I bought a 1 ounce buyback gold coin and a quarter ounce. Could you please capsulate them?
Sorry, ask that again.
They've purchased a 1 ounce buyback gold coin and a quarter ounce. Could you please encapsulate them?
Yeah, we certainly can by putting the price up.
The problem with those is we don't have we don't, because we generally encapsulate when you buy new coins, the 1 ounce silvers, because they're the standard types. But with the smaller amounts, they usually come in tubes from the mint, so we don't actually have the specific small. We could put them in an actual little. Say you bought one of each in a gold. We won't have the exact capsule because they don't come in the exact capsules from the mints. That's the problem as well.
The problem is manifold, and it's one of the reasons. I'll go from the top. One of the reasons we charge what we do for buybacks is because we don't tend to process them and fix them up and all those sort of things. They go out as they come in. So, and that's the thrill of the lucky dip, is that you might get one that looks brand new. And in fact, I've had ones I know that I've sold them to this customer a week ago and they're now selling them back. So they are essentially brand new. But you can get it all the way through to the other end of the spectrum. And we don't sort them through as a rule. Unless there's a quantity of one thing come through, and then we might, and we'll release them to the website as pre-owned, but a specific type. And that way, if people are looking for them in their collection, they can actually know that they're going to get one of these pre-owned ones. Every single buyback coin that comes through, almost every single one of them takes a different size capsule. So we're not going to start sourcing for these buyback coins every size capsule there is to put it into a capsule and then sell them, because then we can't do them at the price that we're doing. Now we have to pay for someone to actually encapsulate them. We have to pay for someone to source the capsules, make sure we've got the correct sizes, hold them out until we order enough in of that size. And I can't buy one capsule in just because, or 120, like an odd size coins come in, because I have to buy them by the thousand to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, I'm paying, 30, 40, $50 for a flaming capsule just to encapsulate a coin that we're only selling for, I don't know what we're selling them for over spot these days, but, whatever we're selling them for over spot. So there's all these sorts of things. One of the things that I love that we do for people is that we encapsulate coins that don't come in a capsule from the mint for one or two here and there. And we've always done it. One of the things I hate that we do is that we encapsulate coins for people because we made a rod for our own back. People now expect all coins to come in capsules, and they don't. Bullion coins traditionally do not come in capsules. And unfortunately, we've moved the market and made the market expect them to all come in capsules in perfect condition. That's not what a bullion coin, particularly a buyback coin, is about. They just don't come like that. It's just the way it is.
Alex, this one's one for you. Is the coffee shop on the ground floor any good, or is it worth just walking to the Macca's? Not financial coffee advice.
Not caffeine advice.
Yeah.
I recommend a little cafe in a laneway just near us. I keep forgetting the name of that laneway, Rubes.
Flinders Lane.
No, not Flinders Lane. The one in between. Where
the Graves.
No, the one before. McSomething. It's McSomething laneway. It's actually just around the corner. That's where I go get this coffee from. But in the Graves, there's a good cafe there as well, called Under Armour.
What sort of kickback do you get, mate? Be honest here.
Not yet, but if we've got quite a few likes, I might send them the link and see what they can do.
Would we consider buying some things from Comsco?
I am.
Comsco. Comsco are an interesting one. They produce incredible quality stuff at a higher price point. They're certainly not cheap. And I don't have a problem with that. But again, this comes down to the vagaries of commercialism. We need to bring in enough to justify. I mean, even getting a product to clear customs, we are automatically charged. Adam will correct me here. I think it's gone up, but we were being charged $200 just for the privilege of someone ticking a box and handing it over, irrespective of how much is in it. So you have to bring in enough to warrant freight costs, the cost of getting it through customs, any GST that's required, like all these sort of things that add up. We can certainly do that, and we can certainly bring in Comsco and some of these more unusual refineries and mints from around the world. But then when we add the price onto it, we go, okay, well, it's going to add $20 or $25, which doesn't sound quite so much when you're dealing with $100 an ounce spot. But when spot was at like $40 and we were adding $25 onto it, the names that we used to get called and the price gouging I was accused of doing, when really all we were doing was covering our cost to bring it into the country. And in fact, what would end up happening is people would say, oh, look, I don't mind paying $25. I'll buy one for that. Well, that's great. But if you're buying them individually, by the time we put them in the capsule that we just spoke about, process them all through, it usually costs me, $30 to actually sell them on an individual basis. So this is the conversation we get into when we start talking about the likes of Comsco and even, the comment about Germania before. We've had to negotiate around some things to be able to bring them in and still get them here at an affordable cost price where people can actually buy them in the numbers that justify us bringing them in.
I'm going to have to skip through. We can try and keep hitting some of them, but I am worried about how far behind I'm falling with some of the questions here, so we might have to come back to them in rapid fire. But there's one there from Alice. Perth Mint, ABC, and Bullion Now all show different spot prices. Why is this, and where do we get our prices from?
I cannot tell you how much I wish there was an industry standard. It would just make our life so much easier. So we all source our various spot prices from various sources. So ours comes from, help me
Infusion.
Guys. Infusion. Ours comes from Infusion, which we find to be the most clearest raw data straight out of the exchanges. It doesn't smooth it at all. It doesn't average it. It doesn't take the middle ground between the bid and the ask. It just gives raw data straight out of the exchanges. And even then, you've got to ask which exchange is it coming out of, because there's exchanges from, I guess from New Zealand, but particularly Sydney, all the way around the world to the States. And it depends on the time of day as to who's feeding out of what and which one they're taking and how much emphasis they're placing on one. Because do you give the start of the market a 100% weighting, knowing that it could be just an immediate fluctuation as the price settles in for the first 15, 20 minutes? Or do you only give it a partial weighting? Do you give it more weighting because there is a lot of demand coming out of China at the moment and less demand coming out of the States because it's a public holiday? There's all these sorts of variations and combinations get thrown in. And then you look at local things. So I'm not going to specify companies here, but XYZ company might say, well, actually, we're going to take the feed and we're going to add a little bit to it, or we're going to minus a little bit from it. We're only going to look at the bid price feed. We're only going to look at the ask price feed. We're only going to take it out of this exchange or that feed or that database, and it's the same. Then you start mixing it up with, what if I'm looking at, is it silver gold price? I can never remember some of these ones online. Kitco actually uses infusion, but their timing is different to ours. So you'll actually see that ours, or one or the other, leads or trails the other at different times. So there's so many mixes and combinations and confusion that you can't compare them apples with apples. When you're doing a straight buy or sell, my suggestion is that you look at what it is at that time. Compare us to Perth Mint, to ABC, to whoever else in this example, and say, well, they're the cheapest right at this moment, or they're offering the best price right at this moment, and go by that. It's the only way you can really do it.
We have a question here about unallocated. It says, what's the go with unallocated silver? If I've got over 31 odd grams, can I 31 odd grams can I convert to 1 kilobar? I'm not sure if they mean ounces, but yeah. How does someone go swapping between,
It's simple. If you've got grams and you want to convert it into ounces, you just say, look, I've got 31 grams. I want to buy an ounce coin. You can do this on the web too. You can buy an ounce coin and just put in the notes, please use my 31 grams of my unallocated, and we'll allocate it over. And what you'll find is you'll just get charged, because an ounce is 31.1035 grams. You'll get charged that 0.1035 grams at the current spot price, but the other 31 grams will be taken off the price because you've already locked in that spot price at that point. It's the same with ounces to kilos. So it's 32.151 ounces in a kilo. So if you've got 32 ounces, or even if you've only got 27 ounces, it wouldn't matter. You just get charged that difference to make up to the 32.151 and plus the whatever premium that you're converting it into. But that initial spot price chunk that you've locked away, you don't get charged anything for that.
Another unallocated question says, made a purchase last week using unallocated. Haven't seen if the order has been processed. Understand you guys are busy leading into Christmas, but didn't want to be forgotten either. What's the best way to confirm the order?
I believe they've just emailed me as well.
Uh-huh.
So because I responded to them in chat, so I'll chase that up after stream today.
I'd be surprised if there's too many that we've missed. We tidied up. A big shout out to Sean. Sean and I cleared out.
We didn't
all the
we didn't
emails
mention
over
that.
the weekend.
I was watching that number drop, and you guys put in an absolutely mammoth effort. So a few weeks ago we were sitting there complaining about hundreds, and I think we did cross over the 1,000 mark in the emails. That has been massively hammered back down. Obviously, things have gotten a little bit crazy again, but nowhere near to where they were. So big shout out to Sean and Michael.
Yeah, Sean and I cleared well over 100 emails over the weekend, and just basically cleared out the whole lot. There's a couple of sticky ones there, but I'm talking like half a dozen sticky ones there that we're either chasing a product or an order, or we're chasing something for. So there's possibly half a dozen that are still. In fact, I don't think there is, but there might be still half a dozen in the system. They are starting to build again. I'm keeping a close eye on them. So the guys have obviously been hammered, as Alex and Ruben have been talking about. Guys on the phones and emails will be the same. Just before I jumped onto live stream here, we were at 71 which will clear out today, tonight, depending on which side of the world you're in. We'll clear those out today. So if you've got any emails that you've sent in the last 24 to 48 hours that haven't been responded to, you should get a response within the next 24.
Ruben, I've got some pictures. Do I send to live@bullionnow.com.au? Yes. Send them through. The only problem is I think we're going to have to do a bit of a catch-up for the end of the year for next week, which will be the last stream of the year, unless Michael has something planned. He did tease that maybe something would happen on Boxing Day. I don't know. But, yeah, there is a lot of emails, with bullion bags, just general questions that I haven't been able to get to. It was a miracle we got the stream up and running this week with how crazy it's been. So next week, I think we'll have to be a bit of a catch-up. So feel free to still send stuff through. But, yeah, apologies to everyone who has already sent stuff through. We will endeavour to do a little bit of a highlight of those next week.
Yeah, Metal Inquisitor just reminded me there, the Pez dispensers and the Scrooge McDuck. They were very cool. I don't know if they've all sold out now, but very, very cool items.
Scrooge went very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I think there may still be a couple of Pez, but yeah, we cleared a lot of them out.
Yeah, they're good fun. You get some fun things come through to add to your stack, and they're very, very typical of that fun, talking points that you can buy. It's good fun.
Hey guys, do we know when the 10-ounce Norse God Loki bars are coming in? Oh, that's a noise.
Loki is...
I got one that I want to ask from a viewer.
Yeah, he was still answering.
Hang on.
Hey? He was still answering.
Loki is living up to his...
See, I'm getting Eurovision delay again.
Loki is living up to his reputation in that he's being a problem bar. The
trickster bar.
Yes. They're shipping them to arrive, I think, Christmas Eve or 22nd or 23rd or something like that. They're arriving in Australia. So do we release them for a pre-order? And then have all the hassles that we have with pre-orders as we had earlier on, what's happening with the Coke bar, even though I've said, don't even ask the question until the 15th and it may be the new year. Which is what happens whenever we release a pre-order, which is why we're always reluctant to do it. Do we go for the pre-order or do we just go, no, we're not going to release them until the new year? At this stage, I'm leaning towards we're not going to release them until the new year. So you're going to have to stand by until probably our second week back before you're going to see those being shipped out.
All right. All you, Alex.
All right. No, because I saw this one a while ago. Matthew Hibbert. How did Alex's daughter go with getting Michael to start up kids club at the work breakup?
Well, we said we weren't going to do that until he.
No. He wanted to know because I said I'll get Miller to hassle you at the Christmas party. Did she talk to you? Because I reminded her on the way.
She didn't actually.
What's that?
I think she was a bit shy this time round for some reason.
Yeah. I'll take care of. I'll speak to her when I get home.
The official answer is we're waiting until Berlin next year.
After Berlin. After Berlin.
All right. After. That's a good. Yeah. There's some questions about Australian customs and taking coins through. That it's a video we need to do in the new year, Michael. It's on the list, but it's an important one. Traveling around with this stuff, it's something a few of us will have to do. Will any processing orders happen over Christmas and New Year's, even if shipping isn't happening?
No, look, you have to assume there's a couple of us that are still going to be kicking around over the Christmas break, but you have to assume that nothing is going to happen because we're going to be tidying up. We're going to be getting ourselves ready for the new year, all those types of things. I've said several times before, we've got a new computer system going into the back end. These types of things will be happening. So emails probably won't be answered. Certainly the phones won't be answered. We're not going to open the storefront even if you're banging on the door. Even if we're kicking around the back getting things ready. There's some more of the shop refit is going to be done during that downtime. There's all these types of things will be happening in the background. So assume nothing is going to happen over that Christmas break and you'll be fairly safe.
There's some people digging on the 1 ounce silver donuts, and if we're going to be getting any more of them, and queries as to if that relates to anything that we may have mentioned a few weeks ago. I'll move on. So I'm going back through. There's some talks about coffee, and I've lost myself. Are we going to be getting in the gold version of the Scrooges?
Oh,
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that would be.
I'm
would
still
be a cool
trying.
one, yeah. There's some queries about. We've got some 1/4 ounce Britannias up on the website that seem to be missing a price. I flicked that off to our stock guy, Adam. Haven't heard anything back yet. So we'll see what's happening with those. But yeah, keep an eye, I guess.
Speaking of website, Ads did put up about 15 or so, or maybe 20 buyback silver cast bars in a 10 ounce that I bought back earlier today. And while I was just waiting to get a breath in, they're down to 4. So things are going up and things are flying out. But we will be attempting to list more and more online with the buybacks, but they just keep disappearing off the site. But there are still 4 currently left online if anyone's interested in 10 ounce silver cast bar buybacks.
There's some lovely thank yous for the emails and hitting a bunch of them and just battling the hordes. So yeah, thank you for your kind words there, everyone. When is the last shipping day?
So the orders and payments need to be made to us by Friday the 12th, which is today. So they can be processed over the weekend, and our last shipping day will be Monday. We'll be sending the stuff out. So particularly once Monday's done, but once today's done, basically make sure your payments are in, make sure your orders are in, all that sort of stuff, and we'll endeavour to get it out on Monday. But after that, it will be a hard no for any further requests of shipping at that point. Bear in mind, if you have sent us an email prior to today requesting shipping and we haven't got back to you for some reason, whether it be I was stuck on a plane for 20-something hours or what the story is, so long as you've got that request in, I will process that over the weekend into early next week, and I'll make sure, all things being equal, you're not asking for a pre-order or, we've got difficulty sourcing something, anything along those sort of lines. I will make sure it gets shipped early next week. Even if we don't get the finalisation until Monday, I'll make sure it still gets processed. But effectively, if it's not done by today and it's not paid for by today, the answer is no.
It's important to thank everyone for the kind messages. I also don't want to skip over the ones criticising us as well, because that's an important part of the discussion. So we had someone here who was fairly ticked off with us last week and has come back this week as well. It's important to hit their question as well. Is your unallocated program backed by physical? If so, why does it take 3+ weeks to get an invoice while using it? The comment about us being the worst and slowest in the country, but is our unallocated program backed by physical, and why does it take so long to get an invoice when using it?
Yes, sorry, I'm trying to pay Perth Mint as we're doing this.
Someone asked if you'd done that earlier.
Yeah, no, I'm currently doing it right now as we speak and getting the codes wrong by the look of it. Yes, it's backed by physical. That's the easy answer. Why does it take so long? It comes back to those 1,000 emails that we're grinding through. It just, we do not... I don't want to give a pat answer here. I don't want to keep giving the same answer. I don't want to use a cop-out. Okay, let's go from the top. We are not providing the service that we promised to provide. And yes, it guts me. I hate it. One of the things that we founded Bullion Now on was the fact that there was too much smoke and mirrors in this industry, that customer service didn't really exist in this industry, that these things just weren't being upheld as they should have been. And that's what we launched it on, and it's why BN has become so popular, is because we have a history of that. The last 3 months particularly, but the last 3 months we have let people down, and it horrifies me. I'm gutted by it. I lose sleep over it, And I've been working, and a lot of us have been working ridiculous hours to try and get us back to being able to provide that excellence of service that we've prided historically ourselves on. We have lost a few key people, not for any other reason than people, move on. They get an opportunity elsewhere. They're tired of doing what they're currently doing. The grass is greener on the other side, those types of things. So we've lost a few people over time, particularly over the last year. And statistically, that happens as the business grows. You get more people in. People want to come, people want to leave. That's fine. But replacing people is not just dragging them off the tram stop out the front and saying you're now a Bullion Now person and you can serve people. It takes time to train them up. It takes time to find the people that fit, because some people don't fit the Bullion Now mold. That's not a reflection on them. It's just they can't, they don't want to, whatever reason, fit in with what we want as a company. And again, I don't want to say that's a reflection on anyone, like a negative reflection. It's just, hey, we do things this way, you do things that way. Both ways are great, but we kind of favour this way. It's led us to a position where we can't service the number of customers that we've got, and that's, you add on top of that this huge boom that we've seen over the last 3 months, the increase in demand, the increase in interest, the increase in education, the increase in all these types of things. I'm just so thankful that we actually grew the shop twice as large before all this hit, because can you imagine us trying to service?
I don't want to.
Servicing in that old shop of 45 square metres was the entirety of the shop, including the back end. We're now well over twice that. All these things have fallen over. I'm giving a very long answer to a short question. The reason that the unallocated, it's still physically backed, don't get me wrong, but has fallen over from a customer service perspective is because we don't have the manpower. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I'm already currently working 20 of them, as many of the other people around me are as well. We can't physically do any more. We're trying to keep up, and we are catching up. We've nailed these emails. We've got in front of them to a large degree. We're going to stay in front of them. There's other things that are going to happen in the background. We've brought new people on. You'll have seen Jack behind the counter. There is a very towering presence behind the counter now of Mark. And while he's not up to speed yet, and that's not his fault, we've got this changeover of back-end systems of when do we train him up and which one do we train him up on. But you can see those faces starting to come in. I noticed that Chris is starting to answer some emails now. So Chris has been taken on board and he's been trained up to jump in on phones and emails to try and relieve the pressure there. We've got more people in the picking and packing system. So while we haven't caught up entirely, we've certainly come leaps and bounds, but we're not there yet. So all these types of things are happening. We are catching up. We're not there yet. We recognise we're not there yet. We recognise we're not offering the service. I noticed another 1-star review, which just crushes me, go through on Google this week because somebody had to wait an hour before they were served. The irony is that the reason you had to wait an hour is because Bullion Now has been, I'm sounding like I'm blowing my own trumpet here, and I don't mean this arrogantly, but because the industry has responded and the customer base has responded to the level of service that we give, it's had this feedback loop of, well, now we can't service everyone that we're trying to service. So it's all these types of things. We are getting there. We're not there yet. We recognise it. We apologise for it. We beg for your patience during this time. We're not taking it for granted. We are getting there.
And we are doing our best. Yesterday, I did 10.5 hours in store. The day before, it was 11.5 hours. This doesn't include travel to and from, work and home. Doing every Saturday, and everyone else is just putting in big, long hours as well. Brett especially. So, it's just... We're trying to get to people as quick as possible. And one of those reasons for those long hours as well is if we see you waiting in queue and you're waiting like 40 minutes and the door's closed. At most places, I'd see you later. But we will see you and bring you in, and the customers in store all through the last few days have been super grateful for that. So we really are trying our best wherever we can.
But
it is incredibly. No. I'm going to jump in, Ruben.
No,
and I'm going to try not get emotional here. It's incredibly humbling as the owner of Bullion Now, both the support we get from the customer base and the Bullion Now family, but particularly these guys behind the counter, on the phones, picking and packing, the whole Bullion Now team. They go over and above everything that I could ask them to do. Alex is not just seeking recognition. He's not seeking recognition. He's not being pressured. He's not anything. He's put in those 11 and a half hours because he loves the Bullion Now family and his role in it, and he wants to service it as well as he can. This is the level of the standard of Bullion Now family and the people that are serving you. And we don't take it for granted for a second. And it's across the board. They all do it. They all step up. The hours that Brett's puts in, I call him Grumpy and Eeyore and those sort of things. But the level of respect that I have for him and the gratitude I have for what he does for this company, that's not his. He's an employee, but he puts everything in and he doesn't leave anything out. And that goes across the board.
Yeah, lots of thanks to the all the kind messages that you guys are putting in chat there. It's
thank you.
Definitely
I
humbling.
Appreciate the comments.
But yeah, I was going to say onwards and upwards for 2026. We've got quite a few things lined up to hopefully fix some of the problems that we've been able to identify. Michael's taken off. I'll just go to you for a second, Alex. We've got a few things lined up to try and fix some of the problems that we've been able to identify, and hopefully, with those people getting trained up, with hopefully the opening of Pakenham, new computer system. Yeah, we're ticking these. We're ticking these things off, and hopefully it's going to lead to us getting back to where we want to be with the customer service.
And part of that is the 2-week break that I'm so looking forward to, and that ironically Brett is not looking forward to. He keeps asking if I want to start go with him. I'm like, no. I need the break. Having said that, we'll probably be in a few days for stock take here and there, but. Yeah, I think a break is well needed and deserved.
We've now updated the website with our trading hours for Christmas. The last day we'll be open will be the 23rd of December, the day before Christmas Eve, and we'll be reopening on Tuesday the 6th in 2026 for the person who just asked there, which is getting scarily close.
I know.
Yeah, way too close.
I'm going to try and do some rapid fire. I'm going to start from the point from some of the thank you and lovely messages, just so I have a point to go from. If you had a question that we'd missed earlier, feel free to ask it again, and we will endeavour to hit them all before ending for this week. Are the 2-ounce buybacks Perth Mint coins?
Some will be, some won't be.
Yeah, I think there was some Royal Mint, so it's kind of, yeah. Hey Alex, when's your next purchase?
I'll send you a link to my OnlyFans.
Are we going to get in the 1-ounce silver Pamp cross of Christianity specifically?
Yeah, don't know. It's premium's a little bit up there. I'm still on the fence on this one.
Shout out to Sylvia for her help and patience this week as we sorted out their unallocated statements. What time is it there, Michael?
That's an excellent question. It is now, it's reasonable. It's now 6 a.m.
There you go. The sun will be starting to set in those windows behind you. Rise, rather. Why is platinum a good buy? I understand it's scarcer than gold.
Michael, remember this
Sorry,
is
I missed the question.
Why is platinum a good buy?
Oh, you can't do that in rapid fire. Because it is. Ask me next week.
I think we said that last week about something else for platinum, and we didn't come back to it. So
okay, somebody remind me earlier on in the stream, and I'll comment on it.
Is anyone else having problems with filtering products on the Bullion Now website? I can't sort by price, etc. Has been like that for a couple of weeks.
That's news to me. If someone over there could message Deej and just say, hey, what's the go with this? That'd be great.
Metal Inquisitor's still hoping to go halvesies on the topography coin. What area of Austria are you in?
We're over in Meerhoven, which is... Oh, man. If I'd known I was going to get a geography test, I would have looked closer. I think it's in the western side of Austria.
Did you fly economy or business, Michael?
Oh, this stirred some trouble in the family. So the family travelled economy.
I see. Just need to press refresh after selecting filter. I think I did run into that problem. So yeah, I will talk to IT about that. Something about your tires getting infatuated. Can BN keep bringing in different fractional silver?
Did you say fractional?
Yes.
I like the idea. I'm a big fractional fan, so I hope so.
Yeah, it's hard to get hold of, particularly at a reasonable price. But we certainly, where we can find it, we grab it as quick as we can.
Surely you can sneak over to Germania Mint without the family noticing.
Probably going to go see Germania. Believe it or not, we're over here for a bit over a week, about 10 days, 11 days, I think it is. Then we go back to Australia, and then about 3 weeks after that, I have to come back to Germany for the World Money Fair, and we'll see Germania there, and may even shoot over to Poland. We're hoping to sneak down to Czech Republic to see the Czech Mint as well while we're over there.
Wow. The family can complain when the family pays for the airfares.
That was, believe it or not, that was the same statement that I made to certain members of my children, where they started commenting about that. And I said, well, you pay, quite happy for you to top up the difference. But there's 11 of us going, and not all 11 of those are going in business class.
Is Michael finding time to relax and rest?
Not yet.
Will you get the William Wallace Legendary Warrior in January/Feb?
Yes.
Have you found the food good? Vernier Schnitzel, whatever that is.
The food, I haven't tried the Austrian. Oh, that's actually not true. Believe it or not, I tried Austrian Hungry Jacks. What's it called over here? Burger King. But yeah, I had to try that over here because the kids, we did a stop through on the way through. But I haven't really tried any Austrian food yet because I've literally walked off the bus, got everyone settled in, got an hour's sleep, and then jumped onto or got ready for live stream.
Wow. That's no excuse not to try strudel.
Oh, mate. I was devastated at Munich Airport. There was, or just outside Munich Airport, there was a Christmas market, and they had a strudel stand there.
Oh.
But it didn't open until 5 p.m. and I was leaving on the bus before then. So I wasn't happy about that. Wow. But I've got to say, a big shout out to Qatar Airways there. Food on there is exceptional. And there was a flight attendant, a South African flight attendant on the flight between Doha and Munich. And people will know that I'm ex-airlines. He would have to be the best. Somebody's tripping out.
I know you paid Perth Mint, but did you pay for your accommodation?
Obviously, someone around here wants me to support Austrian Airlines. Whoa! Would have to be the best flight attendant I've ever come across. Even to a point, I'm not a teetotaler, but I'm almost a teetotaler. Where they convinced me with the story behind the wine and the food and how it interacted and where it came from and the year and the fact that you can't get this wine anymore because that valley's now flooded and it's been produced for 10 generations and all this sort of stuff. It was just fantastic that I actually had the wine, which I never had. So, yeah, he was exceptional. And if I could remember his name, I would give him a big shout out. But he was on that. He was on the flight between Doha and Munich. yesterday.
There you go. Alrighty, I think that brings us to the end. Someone was saying not to jinx it before, so I didn't bring up the comment, but besides that little light fiasco there, the technology held up. We had better connection, less problems than when you're in Tasmania.
Yeah,
Literally
the other
side of the world.
On stream as well.
Literally the other side of the world is easier than you hopping over the Bass Strait.
Well, there are comments you could make about that, but we are going to Tasmania too much to make it.
This is our second last stream for the year. Separate to any shenanigans Michael ends up pulling on Boxing Day, so the 19th will be our last one. We'll have to make it a bit more festive. I haven't had time to dress up the stream a little bit more Christmassy, but we'll have to make sure at least next week's is.
Red shirt, green shirt, what more do you want?
We, in that, need to do some... Where in the world is the Bullion Now bag? We need to sit down at some stage and come up with our favourite products for the year. Bit of a show and tell kind of thing. So, yeah, we'll have to do that. And, yeah... See about fixing.
I don't know what's going on with the lighting.
Yeah, it's all right. It's deciding that it's time to call it. But yeah, very keen for that. We are now, by the time next week's stream rolls around, we will be done for shipping out. But the guys will still be processing some orders and things like that for storage up until we shut, I believe.
Yep. Also on the note, I'll be responding to more emails that you guys have sent to me personally after I jump back in the shop and clear out the lines. Yeah, no doubt they'll be
Also,
swamped by now.
You can actually help us a lot more if you only send in to one email address rather than sending it to live and to sales. Because what ends up happening is Ruben picks it up or Alex picks it up and then I pick it up and then Sean picks it up and you end up getting 3 or 4 contradictory emails because, you might requested something. So I've grabbed it, but now Alex is talking to Sylvia or Janine or someone like that in the system. They're going, well, we can't find it. And so Alex is now sending off. And so it ends up with this confusion. Just send one email to one email address. And now we'll be able to get back to you pretty quickly. I have to admit, I tend to steer it. If I can see in the line that it's been CC'd to anyone else, here we go again. I tend to even ignore that email. So it probably gets forgotten entirely.
And on that light bombshell, Michael, we will see everyone next week.
Sounds good. See you later.
Thanks for joining in. Have a great weekend, everybody.
See ya.